What's up, my friend? This is Real English Radio. I'm your host, Tony Kaizen, and I've got a very interesting episode for you today, a psychological episode, if you will. We're getting all into the nooks and crannies of your brain, talking about how you communicate with yourself and with others, what you expect from yourself and from others. It's really fascinating stuff to think about, and that is what we are going to be thinking about today. Now, I want to start this episode by giving a big shout out to all my listeners in Japan. I don't know how you guys are finding the show because it's not like I produce anything on social media talking directly to Japanese people, but somehow you guys are finding me. Maybe it's social, maybe it's YouTube. Hopefully, people are recommending the show to you. Shout out to everyone who recommends the show to all their friends and family and neighbors and co-workers and grocery store clerks and bus drivers and airline pilots. Anyway, shout out to all of y'all, but specifically to the people of Japan. I've been seeing the audience in Japan growing steadily over the last few months, so I'm really glad y'all have found the show, you're listening to the show, and you enjoy the show. Much love to y'all. Now, like I said, we're getting all into the psychology of man today, ladies and gentlemen, the psychology of the strangest animal to walk the face of the earth, at least the one that we know of. You know what I'm saying? We could get into a whole debate on whether or not aliens exist, but we'll save that for another day. Today, we're talking about something very real. As I said, what you expect from yourself and from other people and how you manage those expectations, how you communicate those expectations. So we got a pretty lengthy clip today, man. It's about 4 minutes and change. And when I say 4 minutes and change, maybe you never heard that before, that expression, that little add on to the sentence, and change. When we say that, what we mean is a little bit more than whatever number I just mentioned. And it's typically used like you can think of money, $5 and change. In that context, when we say change, we're talking to cents. So if I say $5 and change, it's like $5 US, and then maybe 25 cents, 37 cents, 60 cents, the little coins, whatever's left over that doesn't make a full dollar. In another context, the word change can be whatever you get back after paying for something. So imagine you go to a restaurant and your meal is $13 and you pay with a $20 bill. Your change will be $7. That's also change. Now, what I just said, the video clip that I'm about to play is 4 minutes and change. That is more figurative. And what I'm saying is it's a little more than 4 minutes. 4 minutes and 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever. So you can use this for anything related to numbers, but generally money or time. So I can say the trip from, I don't know, man, like Atlanta to Miami is 10 hours and change. Now, you might not hear that every day, but it is a natural thing to say, at least in my experience, and people will understand you mean a little bit more than 10 hours. Not quite 11, but more than 10. So there you go. The clip I'm about to play is about 4 minutes and change. It's a little lengthy, so instead of playing the whole thing and then going back and explaining the whole thing and then going back and playing it again, I'm just going to play it one time, and I'll be stopping from time to time, or periodically, if you will, to explain a few of the more advanced words and phrases just to make sure you understand everything before we really get into this idea. So let's get right into it, my friend. Here we go.
When I was 14 or 15 years old, I was driving in the car with my family, and it was cold and windy. So I asked my dad to roll up the window. He said, "No, put your sweater on." And I said, "No, just roll the windows up. It's cold." He said, "Put your sweater on and adjust yourself first." I thought that was like the dumbest thing ever, and I don't remember anything else about the incident.
All right, my friend. So this woman is telling a story. She's saying when she was 14 or 15 years old, she was riding in the car. She said driving, but she meant riding because she wasn't controlling the vehicle. She was a passenger in the vehicle. And so the difference is when you're controlling it, your hands are on the steering wheel or the handlebars, you are driving. Actually, no, if it's a bike of some kind, 2 wheels, we always say riding, like a motorcycle, a bicycle, whatever. But anyway, in a car, if you're the one sitting in the driver's seat with your hands on the steering wheel, you are the driver. If you're in the passenger seat, if you're in the back seat, if you're in the fucking trunk, you're riding in the car. One is driving, everyone else is just riding. So anyway, she was riding in the car with her family, and it was cold and windy. Now, that's not the most advanced word, but it's the adjective to describe an environment where lots of wind is present. They probably had the windows down. Actually, she said that, right? She had the windows down and there was a lot of wind in the car, making it colder. So she asked her dad to roll up the window. And what I want to point out here is how we talk about that action. If you're riding in a car, the windows are either up or down. Now, you could say open or closed, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's going to look at you strange and be like, where the fuck are you from? It's not that type of thing. It's just naturally, we would say the window is up or the window is down, because when we open and close the window, it moves either upward or downward. So when she says roll the window up, she's saying close the window, basically. If I say roll the window down, I'm saying open the window. But it's just moving up or down, as I just said. And I believe, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe it's because back in the day, cars didn't have automatic windows. So you had to put your hand on this crank type of apparatus and literally move your arm in a circular motion with your hand on the crank and roll. You're literally rolling the window upward. That's why we say roll the window up as we close the window. Then you have to do it in the opposite direction, crank the wheel in the opposite direction to roll the window down. So now, even though windows are automatic these days and you're just kind of flipping this little switch, we still say roll the window up, roll the window down. Because I believe there are some little wheels inside the door of the car rolling upward or downward to move the piece of glass. But that's neither here nor there. Just wanted to explain what we mean when we say roll up the window. And to be clear, this is when you're in a car. You wouldn't say that in your house. If you want to open one of the windows in the house, you would just say open the window. You wouldn't say roll up the window or roll down the window. That's specifically when you're in a car or a bus or a van or something like that. So then she asked her dad to roll the window up. It's cold in here. It's windy. Her dad says, no, put a sweater on. Put a sweatshirt on, a sweater. They're similar pieces of clothing, but it's that thing that you put on your torso to make yourself warmer. And she said, no, just roll the windows up. It's cold. Her dad responds by saying, put your sweater on and adjust yourself first. Adjust yourself. Now, in this case, I mean, generally speaking, adjust means to modify or to change something. So when he says adjust yourself, really what he's saying is modify yourself, but more in a figurative way. Change something about yourself. If you are cold, you need to change something about yourself by putting a sweater on instead of trying to change the environment by rolling the windows up. So no, we're not rolling the windows up. You need to adjust yourself and put a sweater on. That's what he's conveying here. And so then she finishes by saying, I thought that was the dumbest thing ever. And I don't remember anything else about the incident or that occurrence, that moment in time. And you probably understand this, but just in case you don't, when she says the dumbest thing ever, it's like a shortened version of a longer expression. Really what she's saying is, I thought at the time that that was the dumbest thing, the stupidest thing I had ever heard in my life. Now, obviously, it's not meant to be taken literally. It's just an expression. This is the hottest day ever. That's the dumbest thing ever. That's the funniest joke ever. This is the most expensive thing ever. I don't know. These probably aren't good examples, but I want you to understand it's just a way of speaking. It's not meant to be taken literally. She's just saying, I thought that was really, really dumb. So I don't think we're that far in. I'm going to go back to the beginning and then play, and we'll just continue until I need to stop again.
When I was 14 or 15 years old, I was driving in the car with my family, and it was cold and windy. So I asked my dad to roll up the window. He said, no, put your sweater on. And I said, no, just roll the windows up. It's cold. He said, put your sweater on and adjust yourself first. I thought that was like the dumbest thing ever, and I don't remember anything else about the incident. Fast forward maybe like 10, 12 years later, I'm camping with my little family, my husband and young kids, and his parents. We're up in the UNS, we're in our camper, it's cold, morning comes, and he goes outside with his dad, and I'm inside with the kids sleeping. So they wake up, I wake up, and I start thinking of all the things that need to be done. We need to get the kids dressed, get breakfast, get stuff packed for the day. And I start getting irritated, and I'm getting irritated with my husband. And I'm like, he's just out there enjoying himself, and I am in here and I have all this stuff to do and I want his help. Now, note, if I had asked him at all, he would just say, yes, come and help me.
All right, so she starts by saying fast forward, maybe like 10, 12 years later, blah, blah, blah. So remember, she starts by saying 10 or 15 years ago, when I was probably a teenager or something like that, this thing happened. I was cold. I told my dad to roll the windows up. He said, fuck off, put on a sweater, adjust yourself first. And she thought that was dumb. But then fast forward, maybe 10 or 12 years, and this thing happened. So this is something that's a bit more advanced, I would say. And you may not hear it every day, but it's very common when telling a story. You start in the distant past, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and then you want to skip over a large amount of time to some other moment. And that's when we say fast forward. So when you hear that, you can think of a movie or a video or something like that. You literally press the button that speeds through the movie, essentially skipping over certain periods, but you're not jumping from one moment to another. It kind of scrubs, or I can't think of a better word. I would say speeds through. I'm trying to describe it verbally, but if you search that, then you'll certainly get a visual image of what it means, and you probably understand just by me explaining it. So what we're saying is skip forward whatever amount of time. So if I say fast forward 10, 12 years, fast forward 30 minutes, fast forward a decade, I'm saying we're skipping over that amount of time into the next moment I plan to talk about. So fast forward maybe like 10, 12 years later, she's camping with her own family. Now she's married, she has children. She's with her husband, her young kids, and her husband's parents, meaning her parents-in-law, her mother-in-law and her father-in-law. And one more thing I'll touch on, just because I thought of it now, is in other languages, for example, Portuguese, I know you guys do this. Even if you're just dating this person, you guys aren't married yet, it's just your girlfriend or just your boyfriend, you would describe their parents as your parents-in-law, sogro, sogra, or in Spanish, suegro, suegra. I don't know if Spanish speakers do this, but I know Portuguese speakers do. But in English, at least American English, we only say mother-in-law or father-in-law if you're actually married to a person. If it's just your girlfriend or your boyfriend, it's just my girlfriend's parents or my boyfriend's parents, just so you know. So anyway, she's with her parents-in-law, her husband, and her kids, and they're camping up in some place called the Uinas. I have no idea what that is, maybe some mountains or something like that. And she says, we're in our camper. Now, a camper, if I understand correctly, is a particular kind of van used for camping. So I'm imagining some type of van that has a lot more space in the back end where you can sleep or lay down, maybe cook dinner. It might be some type of RV, which is a recreational vehicle, those big, how would I even describe it? It's a very big vehicle that people take when they go camping. You're not going to sleep in a tent outside. You might sleep in a camper. But now that I'm saying that, let me just pull up an image real quick so I can describe it properly to you. Let me see, camper. Yeah, I mean, when I pull it up, that's exactly what it looks like. It seems like a living room on wheels. So you can attach it to the back of a truck, take it out into the desert or the mountains or wherever, and sleep in there instead of sleeping outside in a tent. So anyway, they're in their camper. And where did we leave off? She said it's cold. The morning comes. Her husband is outside with his dad. She and the kids are still in the camper. So she wakes up, the kids wake up, and she starts thinking of all these things that she has to do to get the day started. And then she's thinking to herself, I gotta get the kids dressed. Meaning I have to put clothes on the kids. I have to get breakfast. I gotta get packed for the day, put all our clothes and things in the bags and get ready to go whenever the time comes. And she starts to get irritated. She starts getting irritated with her husband because she's in there stressed, thinking of all this stuff she has to do. And he's outside just enjoying himself. He's not even helping. He's out there with his dad, just enjoying the sunshine or whatever he's doing. And so she finishes by saying, now note, if I had asked him at all, he would just say yes and come help me. And when she says note, N-O-T-E, she's saying stop and take note of what I'm about to say. Pay attention to this. It's just a very quick and short way of saying the same thing. So I believe that's where I stopped. So I'm going to go back a few seconds and we'll keep going.
Get breakfast, get stuff, wake up, and I start thinking of all the things that need to be done. We need to get the kids dressed, get breakfast, get stuff packed for the day. And I start getting irritated, and I'm getting irritated with my husband. And I'm like, he's just out there enjoying himself, and I am in here and I have all this stuff to do and I want his help. Now, note, if I had asked him at all, he would just say, yes, come and help me. He had no idea that I was awake and thinking up all these problems and stuff in my head. So I start going to the door, and I'm about to totally embarrass myself by yelling, like, hello, get in here. I need help. We need help. And right as I get to the door and touch the door handle, my dad's voice comes back to me, and it says, adjust yourself first.
All right, so we're back into the story. Remember, she wakes up, she's irritated, thinking of all the shit she has to do, and she's like, where the fuck is my husband? He's out there catching fish and fucking off, and I'm in here with the kids having to do everything by myself. And so she gets up, and she's mad, about to go yell at her husband and say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get in here, I need some help, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, right as I get to the door and touch the door handle, I hear my dad's voice come back to me. So what I want to explain is that phrase, right as I get to the door. What she's saying is, at the moment I arrive at the door and put my hand on the door handle, right as that's happening, in the exact moment that's happening, blah, blah, blah. So right as she gets to the door, she hears her dad's voice saying, adjust yourself first. All right, let's continue.
And I'm getting irritated with my husband. And I'm like, he's just out there enjoying himself, and I am in here and I have all this stuff to do and I want his help. Now, note, if I had asked him at all, he would just say, yes, come and help me. He had no idea that I was awake and thinking up all these problems and stuff in my head. So I start going to the door, and I'm about to totally embarrass myself by yelling, like, hello, get in here. I need help. We need help. And right as I get to the door and touch the door handle, my dad's voice comes back to me, and it says, adjust yourself first. And I'm like, how? Like, what? That doesn't even make sense. And then the thought comes, put your socks on, go put your bra on, go get dressed for the day, go and brush your teeth. So I'm like, okay, fine. Let's do this. So I go back, I get dressed, I get socks and shoes on, and then I calmed down in that time and realized I wanted to be in there, and it was easier alone. I was just slowly getting the kids ready, slowly getting the food together. And then as soon as I was ready, I just opened the door and was like, hey babe, I got the food. And I totally avoided a huge blow up that I almost caused because I was uncomfortable.
All right, let me stop here and explain one thing. So again, for context, she's explaining that as she got to the door, she was about to embarrass herself, yelling at her husband, all irritated and mad at him because he wasn't helping. And she says, and I probably don't need to explain this, but she says that she was about to embarrass herself because obviously if he doesn't know that she and the kids are awake, if he doesn't know that she needs help, why would she feel that she's in a position to go yell at him and humiliate him and say, what's wrong with you? You need to come in here and help me and blah, blah, blah. It would be incredibly embarrassing to her because she would look like the bad guy, the villain in this case. It's like you're just throwing all of this negative emotion and anger and frustration at your husband when, for lack of a better way of saying it, he's innocent in this case. So she would have just embarrassed herself. So instead of doing that, she goes and gets her shoes on, gets the food ready and blah, 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 gets the kids ready and all that type of stuff. And she realizes, I actually prefer it this way. I can take my time. It's quiet. Nobody's getting in my way, slowing me down. So she gets everything ready and then just calls her husband and her parents or her parents-in-law in to come have dinner or breakfast, Jesus Christ, to have food, goddammit, you know what I mean? And so then she says, I totally avoided a huge blow up that I almost caused because I was uncomfortable. Now, a blow up, in this case, is a noun. You might have heard the phrasal verb to blow up before, which basically means explode in literal terms. A bomb, boom, will blow up. If you set off a bomb in a building, pow, the building might blow up. It just means explode. You get the idea. And I guess in more figurative terms, which is much more related to what we're talking about, if a person blows up figuratively, it means that they explode figuratively, typically out of anger, frustration, fury, rage, or something like that. So they start from a relatively quiet, calm position. At least they look that way. And then out of nowhere, bah, you motherfucker, why'd you get in here? It's happened. What the fuck? That type of thing. Voice almost cracked there, but you get the point. They just, bah, with all this rage and this emotion. What the fuck is wrong with you, piece of shit? Get in here, help me with the kids. You think I don't need help? You asshole. That's what it means to blow up figuratively. Just explode out of anger, usually out of nowhere. But now in this case, it's a noun. So a blow up is just describing the situation or the context, the moment in which one or more people blow up. She's saying, really, I avoided a huge unnecessary argument, a huge misunderstanding that would have involved yelling and cursing and me embarrassing myself and leaving a bad impression on my children and my parents-in-law, when all I had to do was adjust myself first. I was just uncomfortable. It's not because it was somebody else's fault. It's not because it was my fault. I just happened to be uncomfortable, and I needed to do something about that before expecting other people to do something about that. That, to me, is what she's conveying. So I'll go back just a few seconds and we'll continue.
I totally avoided a huge blow up that I almost caused because I was uncomfortable. So, and I didn't even realize it at the time. So I did not learn to listen to my body. And I don't know, maybe it's a common thing. Everyone really does learn it. But I realized that if I'm feeling upset or irritated, usually it's not actually at the situation that's like irritating or upset, making me upset. It's because I'm not comfortable. So 3 things. If my feet are cold, I'm instantly irritated. If I need to go to the bathroom, I'm irritated. And if I'm hungry, I'm irritated. So anytime I start feeling that, like, you know, heavy breathing and like feeling like frustrated, like I want to freak out, I say to myself, adjust yourself first. And I will go to my room, put on socks, I'll go to the bathroom, I'll do my makeup, I'll do my hair, whatever it is. I will adjust myself first. And then I'm usually more calm to like go address the issue or the situation.
Okay, so she says 3 things. Well, actually, let me go back a few seconds. She's saying that she never learned how to listen to her body, or at least not when she was younger. And she realized that if she's feeling upset or irritated, then it's usually not the situation. It's just that she's uncomfortable and she needs to put herself in a more comfortable state of mind or physical position or whatever it is. So if her feet are cold, she gets irritated, and now she knows that about herself. If she needs to go to the bathroom, she knows she's going to get irritated. Same thing if she's hungry. So now, if she gets to that point where she's breathing heavily, she says, if I start feeling that heavy breathing, which might be self-explanatory, but maybe you say this in a different way in your language. When we say heavy breathing, we're talking typically when you're out of breath after running or some shit, but also when you're starting to get mad. You're starting to see, just, I'm about to fuck some shit up. I'm about to fucking lose my shit in this bitch. That's heavy breathing. So when she's feeling frustrated, breathing heavily, she wants to freak out, she wants to lose her composure, she says to herself, adjust yourself first. She'll go put some socks on, she'll go to the bathroom, she'll do her makeup or her hair or whatever, and then she's in a better position, a more calm position to address the issue or the situation. Now, when we say address, in this context, it's a verb, and it essentially means to deal with or handle. That's the way you can think about address a situation or address a problem, to attend to a problem. Did I say deal with already? Because that's also very common, to deal with a problem, a situation, or an issue. And I guess it's a more formal way of saying that, because you could say, I'm in a much better position to deal with the issue, handle the issue, take care of the issue, but address, it sounds a bit more formal, a bit more sophisticated. You know what I mean? Not that it's weird to say it or to hear somebody say it. It's just that you have various options. Some are more casual, some are not. And address is not the most casual word, just so you know. But anyway, I believe that's where we stopped. Usually much more calm to address the issue or the situation. Right. All right. So let's keep going.
So I have an idea for like 1 week or one day, if 1 week seems too hard. I want you to, if you're starting to feel upset or you're starting to feel frustrated, say to yourself in your mind, adjust yourself first, and then think of any way that you could get yourself feeling more comfortable and then be able to like calmly. And it might be so simple as like take deep breaths or go change your clothes or do your hair, do your makeup. Like it's going to be so different for every person, but I just feel like if we can adjust ourselves and make ourselves more comfortable, we can be more tolerable people to be around and more like kind, helpful people too. So I don't know. What do you think? Have you ever had that thought, or do you just think it's bogus? What do you think? Let me know.
All right, my friends. So she finishes her video by saying it can be as simple as taking deep breaths, changing clothes, doing your hair or makeup, whatever you need to do. For the next week, she's challenging all of us to start noticing when we feel upset, when we're starting to get frustrated or irritated with the people around us or our environment, whatever it is. And she's saying, adjust yourself first, whatever that means. And she says, if we all start to make a habit out of doing this, we can all be much more tolerable people to be around. And when she says tolerable to be around, what she's basically saying is easier to be around, because you might agree with me when I say, especially if you're introverted, by the way, you might agree with me when I say that a lot of people are very difficult to be around. Maybe because they have very low levels of self-awareness. They're too loud. They talk way too fucking much. They're rude. They're inconsiderate. You don't like something about them, whatever it is. You cannot tolerate being around them. It's very hard for you to do so. You feel like you can't do it sometimes. So she's saying if everybody just adjusts themselves first, a lot of us will be much easier to be around as people, because we won't be projecting our discomfort, our insecurities, our frustration, our irritation onto other people, especially when they're not the source of our negative emotions. Instead of projecting it onto other people, we just deal with it internally and everybody is happier, at least in theory. I think that's what she's saying. And then she finishes by asking, well, what do you think? Have you ever thought about this, or do you just think it's bogus? Now, the word bogus, B-O-G-U-S, bogus, is not the most common word these days. I think it was much more common in the past. But I would say the majority of Americans, at least adults, still understand that word no matter when they hear it. And all it means is nonsense. Bogus is a much more socially acceptable word for bullshit. You know, she's basically saying, do you think this is valid? Have you considered this? Or do you think it's bullshit? Do you think it's nonsense? Do you think I'm talking out the side of my face? Do you think this is all nonsensical? That's basically what bogus means. So if somebody says something that you think is nonsense, you could say, man, that's bogus. That's bogus. And again, you're probably not going to hear that ever again. You may never hear that word again, because I don't remember the last time I heard somebody say that. But obviously, I mean, she recorded this video recently, so obviously people are still using that word. But that's just one example of how we use it. Like, man, that's bogus. Or do you think this is valid, or you think it's bogus? Do you think this is real, or do you think this is bullshit? The same thing. But that's the I was about to say the end of the video. Jesus Christ. That's the end of the video, my friends. And now I just want to get into some things that came to mind when I was listening to it for the first time, because I think personally, that's redundant, isn't it? I think that this is a really, really great example of the importance of proper parenting. Because at the end of the day, the way you think about this topic, the way that you interact with other people, what you expect from other people, what you expect from yourself, all of that is heavily influenced by the way your parents taught you to behave in this world, if they taught you. And that's an important if, isn't it? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, are neglected as children. And often we think of neglect as not giving children food or clothing or shelter, things like that. But a lot of neglect for a lot of people is just pure emotional neglect. They don't get the attention or love or affection or validation that they need as children. They don't get that from their parents. They don't get it from older siblings or grandparents or cousins, aunts and uncles, whoever it may be. They don't get it. And that causes a lot of dysfunction. And when I say dysfunction, I'm talking about the brain, mental dysfunction. I imagine that for a lot of people, it makes it much harder to regulate emotions. It distorts your perception of people and relationships. It really influences what you expect from yourself and what you expect from other people and what you need from other people. And I think that for a lot of people these days, especially if we're talking about friendships, romantic relationships, a lot of what we expect from our partners is either something that we got too much of as kids or not enough of as kids. And I'm not a fucking psychologist, but I suspect that they're directly related to each other, heavily, heavily related to each other. And so that's why I think this is interesting because a lot of people, especially in modern times, especially in the West, which I'm familiar with, I can't speak about other regions of the world, but definitely in the West, a lot of us are just taught to be so fucking self centered. We are the most important people on the planet. Everything is about us. We look at the world from our perspective and only our perspective. We look at relationships and other people in terms of what they do for us, how they treat us, how they make us feel. You know what I'm saying? Even if not directly taught, a lot of us are indirectly or even subconsciously, if I can say it that way, taught to think about life and people in the world in this way. We're so incredibly self-centered, man. If something is wrong, it's somebody else's fault and other people need to change. If you're sad, other people need to stop making you sad and other people need to make you happy. If you're hungry, somebody else needs to make some food and give it to you. If you're excited, if you're happy, other people need to feel the same happiness or excitement. And these may not be the best examples, but I'm sure you get what I'm trying to convey. It's like all about I'm at the center and everything revolves around me. A lot of people, even if they don't know it or think about it in that way, they're raised to live life in this way. They're raised to view life this way. And you could argue all day about whether that's good or bad or helpful or hurtful. I just think it's a reality that a lot of us grew up in, being taught to think first about ourselves and then about other people, even though you get online or you go to school or you go to some public place where people are talking about values and morals and shit. And we always say, treat everyone like you want to be treated and treat your neighbors like your family, et cetera, et cetera. How many people actually do that shit, bro? How many people actually put other people before themselves with the best of intentions, not in a narcissistic way, because that's a completely different conversation we can have. But how many people are actually living life as if they are not the center of the universe? Speaking specifically about the West. I don't have the answer to the question. Obviously, I'm just asking you to think about it. Because I think a lot of us are raised to think that way. I am the center of the universe. And I honestly, I mean, this is probably getting so fucking old at this point, but I honestly think that social media doesn't create this problem. As I said, it stems from childhood, but I think social media exacerbates the problem. In other words, it makes it much worse. It takes human nature and it exploits it to an extreme degree because now online, the entire ecosystem is built around the idea that you are the center of the fucking universe. You are the star, the most important thing. People are following you, liking you, commenting on you and your appearance and your content and your ideas. They're sharing you. It's all about you. Everything's about you. And so now, instead of dealing with your shit, it's easy to just get online and spread your shit all over the internet to other people so that they listen to it and comment on it and either give you compliments or they criticize you or whatever it is. But it's all about externalizing your internal shit, putting it on a bunch of other people. Does that make sense? Am I making sense to you? What I'm trying to explain is how I think social media exacerbates the problem that is excessive self-centeredness. Because again, we're not on social media thinking about being social, about creating community, understanding and hearing from other people's perspectives, having dialogue and debates and shit. That's what podcasts are for. Social media is not designed to facilitate that. It's designed for you to get deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself. And at the same time, childishly seek the validation of a bunch of fucking strangers because you don't know how to validate yourself. You were probably never taught how to do that. And you never got it from the people that matter most in your life. Does that make sense? I don't know, man. I just think that this video is a great example of how it's one example that can be translated to many areas of life. Friendships, dating, communication, your living situation. I mean, there's so many. Like if we take friendships as an example, you may say, God damn, like why the fuck isn't my friend texting me back fast enough? I text him today and I don't hear from him until next week. My friend is selfish. My friend doesn't care about me. My friend doesn't think highly of me. My friend doesn't value me. My friend is this, my friend is that. And it's all about how you feel and what you're not getting from somebody else. But you never stop to ask yourself, I wonder if my friend is okay. I wonder if my friend is going through some shit. I wonder if my friend is going through some shit and simply doesn't trust me enough to tell me about it. Maybe my friend is in some emotional distress and doesn't want to respond to me until he's in a calm, peaceful mindset. Because if he's in emotional distress, he might respond to my text message in a very aggressive way that's out of character for him. And then that's going to cause problems. So maybe he has the level of intelligence necessary to know I'm just not going to respond until I'm in the right state of mind. A lot of us never stop to consider things like that. We go into ourselves first, think about how we're feeling and how somebody else is making us feel, when their behavior has nothing to do with us. But because we're the center of the universe, we assume it must have something to do with us. Everyone's behavior, everyone's thoughts and opinions and comments and actions must have something to do with us because we are at the center of everything. You understand what I'm saying? And so if you adjust yourself first and say, maybe I'm being a little bit needy. Maybe I'm being a little bit selfish. Maybe I should be a good friend and check on my friend, ask him if anything is going on, or present what I'm thinking or feeling in a more emotionally healthy way. Maybe I'll get the explanation that I'm looking for. I'll figure out what the fuck is going on. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe your friend will tell you, honestly, bro, I've just been super busy and I don't really like texting. You know, it's better if you just call me. Just call me. And if I see you calling, I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll pick up the phone and we can talk. You can call me anytime, man. We're friends. It's just, I'm not really into texting anymore. It takes too much time and it distracts me or whatever. You never know what he's going to say, but if you don't ask, if you don't put your friend first, if you don't adjust yourself first, then you'll never get to that. You'll fuck up an entire friendship by being passive aggressive and making assumptions because you think it's all about you. Same thing in dating. Why does my girlfriend never do this? Why does my girlfriend never say that? You know? Why doesn't my boyfriend ever tell me what he's thinking or what he's feeling? He never opens up and shares his emotions. Why doesn't he do that? He doesn't really love me. He doesn't care about this relationship. He's hiding something from me. He must be. If he's not telling me everything like I tell him everything, he must be hiding something. He's got bad intentions. He's got malicious intent. He's sneaky. I can't trust him. There are people that will literally sit there and invent that type of story in their mind simply because they don't have the information they feel they deserve from another person. It goes back to that self-centeredness. My environment, I'm uncomfortable with my environment or the people in it, and therefore my environment or the people in it need to change, not me. But if you adjust yourself first and communicate with this guy, you might realize, oh shit, he doesn't feel comfortable talking to me about his emotions or his past or his feelings or whatever it is, because the last time he tried to do that, I made it about me which communicated to him that I'm not somebody that can be trusted with sensitive information. No matter how sensitive of a topic or situation he's going through, no matter how much he's struggling, I'm going to find a way to make it about me. And why the fuck would he come to me if that's the case? A lot of people never ask themselves that question. They never consider that. Because we're told from such a young age, you're perfect, you're great just the way you are. It's the world that needs to change. It's not your political party, it's their political party. It's not you, it's your boyfriend. It's not you, it's your girlfriend. It's not you, it's your parents. It's not you, it's your teachers. It's not you, it's blah. It's always somebody else. It's always somebody else because you are perfect just the way you are. Yeah. And I view that as a problem, man. I really do. I think there's nothing wrong with caring about yourself, making sure that you're comfortable and taken care of. But again, we're talking about to an excessive degree. And that's the whole point of the phrase, adjust yourself first. I think communication in general, right? I did an episode titled, Why Are You So Quiet? And that's another perfect example of what we're talking about, right? If you're a more extroverted person or you grew up in a family or a culture where talking to people is seen as respectful or courteous or a sign that you like and want to be around people, and you get around somebody who's just naturally quiet, a bit more introverted or reserved or simply selective with who they talk to, if you're so self-centered and everything is about you and the world revolves around you, you're very likely to assume that this person has a problem with you. Because why aren't they talking to me? Why aren't they giving me attention and validation, showing me respect? When you might never stop to ask yourself, what would happen if I spoke to them first? How many fucking people never stop to ask themselves a simple question like that? Why are you so quiet? Why don't you ever talk to us? It's like, nigga, why the fuck don't you talk to me? The same shit. You ever had a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, that's like, why don't you ever call me? You never call me. Why don't you ever call me? It's like, hold up, bro. The shit works both ways. You could call me too. You know what I mean? But if you just adjust yourself first and realize I'm lonely or I miss this person, I want to talk to this person, I should adjust myself first, pick up the phone and fucking call them, problem solved. Or I feel invisible or unimportant or whatever when this person doesn't speak to me, maybe I should speak to them. Problem fucking solved. But a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people think they need to adjust other people or their environment before they adjust themselves. Happens all the time, whether it's general communication with friends, coworkers, romantic communication with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, intercultural communication as well. We talked about that on the podcast too. Because Americans are so cold and reserved and arrogant or this or that, because a lot of people who think that way, even if that's true for some Americans, obviously that's true for any people anywhere, but even if that's true for some people, they label the entire country that way because they're looking at it from the perspective of their culture, assuming that the rest of the world is going to and should communicate and do things the way that they do it in their home country. We're friendly and vibrant, outgoing and talkative, so Americans should be that way too. And when I go to America and they're not that way, Americans are the problem. They need to be like us. Fuck these Americans, these arrogant, racist, cold, fucking assholes. It's the same shit. It's all the same shit, bro. And there's so many examples of this idea, adjust yourself first, right? Like the Michael Jackson song. I'm talking about the man in the mirror. Y'all heard that song? I don't know any of the other words. I just know that part. I'm talking about the man in the mirror. R.I.P. Mike J. Anyway, that's one example. Jordan Peterson talks about it too, right? In his book, 12 Rules for Life. He says something like, set your room in perfect order before you criticize the world, which is a very sophisticated way of saying, adjust yourself first before you try to adjust other people. Before getting online and talking shit about how men should be doing X, Y, and Z, why don't you Fix your fucking self. It's probably not the best example. That's not the best example, but you get the point, right? Instead of getting online talking shit about whatever group of people, men, women, black, white, American, Russian, Japanese, Brazil, whatever the fuck, whoever it is, before getting online and talking about how other people should be doing things different, your government, your teachers, your fucking whoever, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Because you're not fucking perfect. I can guarantee you, no matter how likable you think you are, there's somebody who can't fucking stand you, bro. That is true for all of us. I don't care what you say. Nobody's perfect. Everybody can improve. Everybody's got things about them that annoy other people or that they should start doing or stop doing to be more likable, more tolerable. All of us. So before you start getting on other people about what they need to change your fucking self. Clean your room before you talk about how dirty somebody else's room is. And I mean that literally, or Jordan Peterson means that literally and figuratively, much more figuratively. And it all goes back to this idea. Adjust yourself first, and you realize that a lot of your problems disappear. It makes me think of another example, which was when I was at my mom's place, I would want to record some podcast episodes. I think I recorded some when I was experiencing this problem, where she lives in this apartment, and upstairs above her on the next floor, there was this woman who had 2 or 3 kids, a dog, and they were constantly running around, jumping up and down, screaming, and the dog was barking, and she was yelling at the kids and all this shit. And I'm downstairs just trying to record a podcast, but I can't. I can't even focus because it's so goddamn loud. Sounds like they're about to come through the ceiling. And all the yelling and screaming is getting picked up on the recording, so there's no way to record. I'm getting fucking irritated. I like a quiet environment in the first place, so I'm just irritated because of the presence of the noise anyway, but it's double irritated when I'm trying to record something. And at first, my approach was, let me go up there and adjust them. Knock on the door, be like, hey, you do have neighbors downstairs. You mind keeping it down? Blah, blah, blah. We got to share this space. Why don't you show a bit of fucking consideration, you cunt? But what do you think that approach is going to do exactly? You know what I'm saying? How do you think that's going to turn out for you if you approach people in that way? It's going to result in nothing good, obviously. But in the moment, you're all emotional and shit. You're not thinking that way. And so I learned over time to adjust myself first. There's too much noise. I just can't record right now. Or maybe take a walk to the park where it's quiet and I'll just record outside. Or I just won't, like I said, I won't record right now. Or even if I'm not recording and it's just a bunch of noise, got noisy neighbors, I'll just put on some fucking headphones. There you go. I'll listen to some music, put on some rain sounds or some background noise or whatever. Now I can't hear anyone or anything. And I can concentrate on what I'm doing. Or I'll just turn the TV up louder so I can hear the TV more than I can hear my noisy neighbors. Focus on what I'm watching. I'll just go for a walk. I'll run to the store. I'll do something to get my mind off of the noise that I can do nothing about. And again, these might not be the best examples, but I am sure you get the point. It's all about taking accountability for what you can control and accepting what you can't control. Adjusting yourself before you expect anything or anyone else to change. Because often what happens is when you try to change other people, you're met with resistance. You get on a train, some other form of public transportation, some fucking asshole sitting there with his phone, got Spotify open or whatever, blasting his music as loud as he can play it. If you go over there and say, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? There's 60 other people in here, bro. We don't want to hear that shit. Put on some headphones. Turn that shit off. What do you think he's going to say? Man, fuck you, nigga. You don't tell me what to do. I play my music if I want to play my music. What you want to do? Ba, 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 ba. And now you got this fucking altercation. Y'all are arguing. It might get physical. Who knows what the fuck is going to happen? Because when you try to change or force other people to change, you're met with resistance. All it does is make them say, as the center of their universe, no, I'm the star of the show. This is about me. Fuck you. You don't tell me what to do. And bye, 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 bye. And you can't force other people to be considerate or take you into consideration or change what they're doing or how they're behaving to make you more comfortable. People care about themselves. They don't care about you. Nobody cares about you, bro. People care about themselves. And this is arguable, but I think that is human nature. I really do. And it's further reinforced by however we're parented. Most of us, as I said, are parented to be self-centered, putting ourselves before everyone else. Often our parents put themselves before they consider us. A lot of parents are self-centered and put themselves before their children. And then again, with the social media shit, it only gets worse. So, bro, I think that's just something in our nature that we can't necessarily change. And so what this young woman is saying in the video is if we can all just practice adjusting ourselves first before trying to change our environment, we all become much more tolerable people to be around. And I think on some level too, that it really is a cultural thing. It's not, I mean, we talked about human nature and how we all are quite self-centered at times. But again, it depends on how you're raised too, because I'm speaking mostly about the West here. But if we use a country like Japan, for example, shout out to all my Japanese listeners. If we use a country like that, they have a reputation for being much more considerate of the people around them. They're not going to get on a public train, be blasting their music as loud as they can, or talking unnecessarily loud for everybody else to have to listen to that shit. They're considering those around them. They adjust themselves so that everyone else around them can be comfortable. The least amount of conflict possible, the least amount of discomfort and stress possible, so that we can all just coexist in peace. Now, often what that does, or at least I imagine what that often does, is create internal conflict. Because if you're putting everyone else first and considering everyone else all the time, at some point it's going to go against what you want as an individual. Because maybe you want to play your music super loud. Maybe you are loud and expressive and that's just how you want to talk. You don't want to have to quiet yourself down or dress differently or move differently or whatever it may be. You don't want to do things different. You don't want to conform to make other people comfortable. So now you just have this internal conflict because you have to behave in this socially acceptable way, which is taking everyone else into consideration before yourself. And so I think it's a cultural thing. I'm not saying which one is right or wrong. All I'm asking you to do is think about it. And like many things in life, I think it is about finding a certain level of balance, right? Having the right amount of self-awareness and how you and your behavior and your actions and your words affect those around you. And having an awareness of how other people's words and actions and your environment have an effect on you. And what you're supposed to do about that. The right level of self-adjustment and the right level of self-advocation. Because sometimes you really do just need to adjust yourself. If you're cold, put a sweater on. If it's too loud, put on some fucking headphones so you don't have to hear everybody else being loud. If you're an introvert and you're around a bunch of extroverts who talk too much, they're too loud, they're poor listeners, just don't fucking hang out with those people. Problem solved. So sometimes you really do need to just adjust yourself. Other times, people are being excessively rude or inconsiderate or disrespectful or whatever it is, and now you need to say something. You know what I mean? Somebody's in your house breaking rules that you set for your home. You're not going to adjust yourself first and say, oh, it's no big deal. I want them to be comfortable. No, fuck that. It's your house, your rules. So now you speak up and say something. They need to adjust themselves or get the fuck out. Again, my perspective on the matter. You obviously are going to have your own opinion. I'm just trying to illustrate that sometimes it is about adjusting yourself, and other times it really is about adjusting the people in your environment or adjusting the environment itself. It really depends on the situation. I just think that a lot of us never consider the former, which is adjusting oneself. We always go immediately to changing other people or changing the environment itself so that we are comfortable, regardless of what it costs other people. So like I said in the beginning, it's just something really interesting to think about, man. I love psychological concepts and thinking about human nature and our behavior patterns and how they affect our lives and the people in our lives. It's really, really interesting stuff because we're social animals, man. So everything that we do in some way is going to affect other people, whether we intend for that to happen or not. And so if we all spend a bit more time thinking about that, the way that we affect other people and the way other people affect us, the way our environments affect us and vice versa, I think, or I hope, we can all be a bit more thoughtful in the way that we behave and communicate with others. And as the woman said in the video, we can all be a bit more tolerable to be around because each and every one of us is fucking annoying sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's just what it is. All of us can be fucking annoying. So if we can all be a little bit less annoying, take a little bit more accountability for our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, our behavior, I think that's a net positive. Don't you? Regardless of what you think, feel free to let me know, man. Shoot me a DM, an email, or whatever you got to do. And let me know what you think about this topic. Because like I said, it's very thought-provoking. And as I often say, even if you don't shoot me a DM personally, man, find some people to talk about this with. Whether it's in your native language or English, obviously the preferable option is English, man. Do not forget to practice your English. Get out there and talk to real people. Get on Hello Talk or Tandem, hire a teacher on italki, whatever you got to do to find some people to talk to about life in general, man. If you're listening to this podcast, you're almost certainly an intermediate level speaker or above, which means you can at least make small talk. More than likely, you have enough vocabulary and comprehension skills to maintain a normal conversation. And you're going to advance, you're going to progress and get better and more articulate and more eloquent when you practice speaking, because it is a skill you need to practice, bro. And the best way to do it is just by talking about life. And this is a fantastic subject to talk about. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to put that on your brain today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope that you got a little bit more real English in your life, my friend. But I'm about to get out of here. I'm your host, Tony Kaizen, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.